All right. We are going to talk about a few things that you might deem to be graphic in nature. So, if you've got little ones or if your ears are sensitive, tune this out. Yesterday we posted a video that in that video, which we borrowed from our friends at North American Rescue, was shared by a gentleman that accidentally, negligently shot himself while holstering a gun this past April in Chicago. Not need to go into the specifics of it for what we're talking about. We know that it was a 9mm, it was a Glock. I'll grab one of those now. 19X, he had a 19, close enough for what we need to look at. And while doing so, he discharged a round that completely destroyed his femoral artery. He ended up coding out numerous times, which means that life was over for him, and it was up to the responding police officers to save him. All of his ribs were broken in the process of them saving him. He ended up getting multiple transfusions. He's alive and well, but I bet you not the same as pre-incident. Lucky to be alive. How'd that happen? I'm not going to talk about how it happened for him. I'm going to talk about how it happened for you, for me, and why it's important. A couple things we got to think about when we decide to carry a weapon of any kind, a pocket knife, a bat, a club, a taser, pepper spray. If you decide to carry that, there is a specific reason that you're doing it. That reason could be good, that reason could be bad. For most of us, I'm assuming that reason is good. It's to protect ourselves, our loved ones, our community, the people that we have a sworn duty to protect, if that's what you do for work. You are carrying that thing, and in doing so, you take upon risk, right? There's risk to having a weapon with you. There's risk, but if we are trying to mitigate as much risk as possible through training, right? That's why we train. We want to become proficient, efficient, skilled, fast with these weapons so that we can do good with them. But if our job was only to mitigate risk, we could just stay at home, right? Get a job where we work on the computer. We could have food delivered. We could board up our whole house, keep germs and bad guys away, right? But of course, we need to go out in the world. We want to explore. We want to feel and taste the sunshine. So we can't do that. So we decided to put some weapons on us. I've got two on me. I've got two Langdon Berettas on me. Awesome guns. And I've got one in a Vetter holster, and I've got one in a Safari Land holster. By the way, this is the Langdon Foundations belt. Awesome belt. Link on our website to this stuff if you're interested. I want to talk to you about that risk mitigation, and what it is you're doing to ensure a proper outcome. So there's a lot of comments, and for you guys that are instructors, pay attention. For you guys that are students, that we all should be, pay attention. You look at these comments, and if you are looking with an open mind, not a closed mind where you automatically come to a conclusion based on your preconceived ideas and notions, but an open mind where you actually try to understand where the person's coming from, you find out and dig deep into where their head's at. So when you start to see comments that say that wouldn't have happened had they had a striker control device on their gun, maybe it wouldn't, maybe it would have. Depends on if they used it, if they had a good system where they were training to use it. So we're going to talk about systems. It wouldn't have happened if they had a hammer-fired gun like my Beretta. Well, maybe it would have. If this was in single action mode, you get a 2.5, 3-pound trigger, pretty easy for that to break, right? It's about systems. Wouldn't have happened if they didn't carry appendix. Really? Is that it? Does the tail wag the dog? Does a striker control device? Does a hammer? Does a holster position? Do all of those things tell you where to point the muzzle? Do all of those things tell you what systems to ingrain into your subconscious? Do all of those things direct the outcome of your training? Do all of those things set the course for your training? Who you train with, how you train, what you put in mentally? Do those things? Of course, the answer is no. So let's get a little graphic. When's the last time you just bent over randomly, say at the mall, shoved your finger up your own bare ass? When's the last time you were in church and you just stood up and When was the last time you went to pick up your kids from school and started screaming obscenities at other small children while you were waiting in line because you were frustrated and sick of being there? When was the last time that while sitting with your boss or manager or coworker, and you're so sick of hearing them, you just looked them in the eye and said, "Go to hell, you son of a bitch"? I'm guessing never to probably all of those. Why? Because you control yourself. You decide what comes out of your mouth. You decide if your finger gets shoved up your ass in a mall. Why is Mick talking about shoving his finger up the ass? Because it's graphic and it makes you pay attention. That's why. What the hell does this have to do with a guy shooting himself? Because just as you don't randomly shove your own finger up your asshole, you don't randomly just point guns at anything. You are consciously or unconsciously doing it through a lack of a trained system, which if you do it through a lack of a trained system, you consciously decided not to have a system. Thus, in my estimation, you consciously make sense? So how then do we get to the point where we don't subconsciously or unconsciously point guns at things that they shouldn't be? Through a proper system. It has nothing to do with whether the gun is a striker fire, a single action, because you know what? If you shoot this gun, if you don't have a trained system to properly apply said safety, finger off the trigger and safely holster the gun wherever it is, this doesn't save you. If you've got a beautiful gun like this Wilson Combat that's been retuned by our friends at Langdon. Notice how I get sales pitches into everything? By the way, I shoot Super Bell ammo in this gun. And my friend Les Pepperoni's sights on here. Even if you have this gun, that can still happen. That can still happen. For God's sake, you could put it in your own mouth and blow your head off, but you choose not to. How is it then that we wish to blame a weapon, a tool, the holster location? You cannot. It is your choice. Let's talk a little bit about holster location. So whether or not you carry a gun in one of these positions, small of the back, in a purse, all of those are you taking on an acceptable level of risk? Agree or disagree? If you carry here, you are taking on a higher degree of potential risk than carrying here. Agree or disagree? If you are carrying here, you must have a more thoughtful approach to how that gun comes in and out of the holster. Finger high register off of the trigger. If you're the kind of guy that's doing this business, you are dancing with danger. I'd cut that out. At the very least, I'd film yourself, become cognizant of it, and then ask somebody that knows that can help you break that bad habit. But you are taking on a measured level of risk based on how much you measure and whether you even care about yourself when you strap a gun to yourself. So in doing so, you are also taking on a level of faith in the mechanical product, the gun and the holster and the ammunition that you strap onto your body. When I carry this gun, I have faith in the engineers at Glock, in the holster that I carry it in, and in the ammunition that it will not go off until I press the trigger. As such, when you carry in this position, you are many times pointing the gun at your penis, your testicles, your thigh, your femoral artery, and possibly your pelvis, depending on how high the gun rides. Not to mention, if it's pointing at those things, it doesn't mean that that bullet could not traverse farther south towards your feet and or other legs or other parts of you, depending on where things are in time and space. If you're standing, you could say, well, Mick, if you've got a wedge, it's going to force that muzzle out away from the body. Great until you sit down. Great until you're tied in a knot. Great until you're knocked on your ass and you have to get up. You are accepting that that muzzle is pointed at your body. As such, when you come out of the holster, is your system designed to keep you as safe as possible? Are you mitigating as much risk as possible? That's on you. If that gun's here, same thing. Does my draw stroke and my holstering of the gun provide me as much risk mitigation as possible? Period. No more, no less. Stop blaming it on whether or not there's a hammer exposed on the gun, a safety that you can mechanically action, some type of additional device. All of those devices require conscious action from you, the user, which means you, the user, need to train in a judicious use of said device, a safety, a gadget, a holster. You need to decide, when do I use this thing and how? Then, through proper planning, you train that in. I know I'm kind of talking in circles here, but I want to hone this. I want to make sure you understand that if you choose to carry a gun for your safety, for others, for the general public's, you're training in a system, man, a system that supports the outcome that you desire, which I assume does not include making additional holes in you. So back to the initial perverted question. When's the last time you randomly dropped trow in the middle of a mall and shoved your own finger, dry even, up your asshole? I'm guessing the answer is never. Don't train in systems that have you willy-nilly pointing guns where they don't belong. Don't blame it on chance, on happenstance, on the cosmos, on the alignment of the stars, on the moon, on an accident. Because you and you alone are responsible for where that muzzle points in time and space. I don't care if you are a 20-year commando. I don't care if you're a SWAT cop. I don't care if you're an instructor. I don't care if you're a Boy Scout leader. I don't care if you're a Grandmaster level shooter. Nobody should be telling you that it's acceptable to be pointing guns at yourself. Have a system that has that gun coming in and out of the holster, slow and controlled if necessary. Speed is not everything, especially if the outcome is additional holes in yourself. Mickey with carrytrainer.com. Keep your muzzle in a safe direction. Develop a system that gun can come in and out of the holster safely with little extra risk as possible, and keep your own fingers out of your asshole unless it's playtime and that's something you're into, which is another story altogether and not a topic that we're going to be discussing here. You sick bastards. Be well.